Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we are talking Enneacraft. Sorry I was gone. I was gone for a week. I wasn't able to really cover the news as it was dropping, but I want to get at least after it and show you guys my thoughts at least on the stuff that I missed. In this video, we'll just be going through Enneacraft. I just didn't want it all to be a 30+ minute video. I can burn out on those types of videos and really start to like lose the ability to like process what I'm even looking at when I'm talking for that long. So we're gonna break it up. We're gonna break the other three kind of random cards that were revealed over the last week in their own video after this one. But we'll start with this one just to kind of keep Enneacraft kind of its one solid video where we can just focus on that. Just make it a little easier to process it all at once. For me, this is the third and final deck build pack archetype from the newest one. Yesterday, we covered the Killer Tune archetype. A couple weeks ago, we covered the Hecaton Cherise archetype. Very cool stuff going on there. But this one, by far, to me, is the most unique. And it's not even close. It is a Pendulum archetype that also deals with flip monsters at the same time. That is a crazy combination. But let's get into it. Starting off here, we have Enneacraft orgIA. I don't even know how to pronounce any of these. Level 1 Earth Machine. Earth Machine is interesting. That gives it a little extra accessibility, but it's a pendulum flip, 100 attack, 1000 defense, pendulum scale of 0. We will see a lot of that as we move forward. It has 2 effects for its pendulum effects. The first one says each time monsters flip face up, put 1 Synquisition counter on this card. These counters are not super integral to the strategy from when I remember reading it when it did get revealed, but I wasn't able to cover it, which is good. I feel like archetypes that have been too reliant on building up counters, especially if the requirement on how many counters you need, it can get dicey. So I like that it's not too integral on that. The second effect, though, is really the one that's going to matter for the most of these, which says you can pay 900 life points to reveal 3 Enneacraft cards from your deck. Your opponent randomly picks 1 for you to add to your hand. Shuffle the rest back into the deck. The key with this effect is that it does not say they have to have different names. So technically, you can just always hit a 3 of if you still have 3 copies in your deck. But of course, if 1 copy's in rotation, then you have to start putting in other cards that are maybe not the exact card you want, but you'll still be pleasantly surprised or happy with. But yeah, very cool. It's a good effect, and most of them have this. So you're telling me all of them are +1s in scale? Don't hate that. Definitely don't hate that. You can reveal this card in your hand as cost to special summon a monster from your hand in face down defense position. You cannot special summon the turn you activate this effect except in face down defense position. That is a brutal lock, I'm not going to lie, but the way this deck wants to play, like, that actually isn't the worst thing you can do because they all kind of have this effect as well, or at least a lot of them do. They most of them share this pendulum effect while we'll be able to skim through a lot of the other ones a lot faster. They'll also have this effect where they just boom, they jump on the field face down. So yeah, cool. Second effect, when your opponent activates a monster effect in the hand, quick effect, change this set card to face up defense position, then add an Enneacraft card from your deck to your hand. And then if this card is flip face up, you can also destroy 1 monster your opponent controls. So this is what this deck is all about. Its flip monsters are basically trigger trap cards while they're face down on the field. Your opponent does a certain action, your monster will trigger to flip face up itself. It's going to get you something on that effect, and then it's also going to have another flip effect as well. So non-target destroy a monster, not terrible, while also searching another Enneacraft. The only complaint that I remember having when I read all these is that the triggers for these can be a little bit specific, and because you're normally like activating them in hand to set, your opponent knows which ones are face down, so they know which ones are triggering when, and so if they're a really good player, they might be able to play around these relatively easily, right? Like, it's a monster effect in the hand, and there's a lot of effects that do activate in hand that includes hand traps, so setting this as first action like can be pretty nice, that if they're going to hand trap you, you're going to flip this and add another, and potentially even pop something if they ever summoned anything. Like, there's definitely ways to punish, but it feels like it's pretty, you're going to give your opponent a lot of information on what your end board looks like. So just keep that in mind. All right, next one. These are going to move a little bit faster as we keep going. Enneacraft Beta, I want to say. alazonelA, another Earth Machine. Again, gives you some potential River Stormer searchability, stuff like that. 100, 1000, scale 0 again. Pendulum effect is almost exactly the same. Every time a monster is flipped, this card gets a counter. Pay 900, reveal 3 Enneacraft cards. 1 randomly gets picked. You take it to the hand. The rest go back to the deck. Cool. Same first effect on the monster effect as well. Reveal it in hand to special summon it, and then you're locked into only being able to special face down for the rest of the turn. When your opponent activates a card effect that includes adding a card or cards from the deck to the hand, quick effect, you can change the set card to face up defense position, then add a Enneacraft card from your deck to your hand. So again, a searcher, but this one's a little nicer, just that like any card that would search, like almost every deck searches. Not every deck loses to Droll, but it feels like almost every single deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is searching once mandatorily for like most of what it wants to do, at least to remain consistent. So this card should be pretty abusable there. And then if this card is flipped face up, you can banish one card, random card from your opponent's hand until the end phase. Not the craziest interruption in the world with this one, but does still give you a little bit of hand control. They do lose a resource, as well as give you a little bit of bonus hand knowledge as well. So still not terrible. The one thing that would have been like really crazy is if this deck had, and we saw with the other 2 archetypes from this deck build pack, is they both got an in-archetype hand trap. This deck would have been really crazy if you had a way to like quick effect set one of these on your opponent's like turn 0. That would have been really cool way to like kind of speed up, because this, or to be honest, this is the archetype that probably needs it more than the other 2. But the other 2 got that, and this one didn't, which is, you know, whatever. It is what it is. This one's fine. Not quite as good because the interruption's not as good when it's flipped, but everything else is basically the same, and everything else is pretty solid effects. You're plussing while this is in scale. You are searching when it's while flipping, and then you're still getting bonus hand, you know, knowledge and control, which is cool. Next up, we have Enneacraft, whatever the F is, tromarlA. Another level 1 Earth Machine, 100, 1000, scale 0. Same exact pendulum effects, which are good. We're not complaining. Same first effect. Second effect, when your opponent activates a card effect that includes special summoning a monster, quick effect, you can change this set card face up, then add an Enneacraft card from your deck to your hand. Again, just crazy plussing. But when this card is flipped face up, you can negate the effect of 1 effect monster your opponent controls until the end of this turn. This one's not great. We've seen these types of effects, and they don't always interact that cleanly. The most awkward part of this is that these are in different chains, right? So this one's responding to an effect that would special summon a monster. So you're flipping in response, but then like this, and I guess to be fair, you're trying to respond to an effect that is summoning a monster. So they summon in a new chain link, you're in a new chain link, like responding to negate it. So it can work that way. But if the thing you actually wanted to negate was already on field, this does just get, you know, grimy in that space. So not terrible, but not blowing me away for sure. The first one's still my favorite overall, I think. Although I do like the trigger on this one. This is an easier trigger than I think the other 2 might have overall. All right, next up, keep it moving. This is oknirlA, IA, level 1 Earth Machine again, 100, 1000, 0. For the scale, same pendulum effect, same first effect. When your opponent activates a card or effect in the grave or banishment, change the set card face up, and then add an Enneacraft card from deck to hand. That's all the same, except for the slightly different trigger, which is still another pretty good one. Most decks are activating something in grave or banish. And then if this card is flipped face up, shuffle up to 3 cards from your opponent's graveyard and or banishment back into the deck. That's another pretty powerful one. This is kind of just like the anti-graveyard deck response. I mean, I think about this card against like a Fiendsmith type deck. This card could actually be really nasty there, especially because Fiendsmith is not like super aggressive, and they're not ending games super quick. So even in a grind, if you can resolve this card once, twice, whatever, this card could really put you ahead in the grind. But yeah, this is another solid one. I like this one. This is one where it's going to be, a lot of these are like very matchup dependent, I feel like. This one very much so, that it's very dependent on like, are we playing a graveyard deck? Okay, this one's important. But yeah, and the other thing too is this is shuffling from grave or banishment. So even stuff like Malice, right? They're triggering in banish, and then you're just going like, oh, I'm going to take all the names that are in rotation, and they're gone. Pretty cool. Like there's some cool stuff you can do there. All right, now I move to some of the bigger ones. So these are some of the bigger pendulums here. This is Enneacraft Isa Beta Leon, level 9 light machine, 3K 2500. So the blue eyes stats. Another pendulum scale 0. This is another weird part about this archetype is The entire archetype, I think, is scale 0. It's just fucking weird. I don't fully get it why that is, but okay. I guess it does mean if you want to pair it with another pendulum archetype, like you would only need, high scales to really worry about. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Okay. Each time a monster is flipped face up, place a sync position counter on this card. That's the same as the others. At the end of the battle phase, if you have an Enneacraft card in your other pendulum zone, you can target one monster your opponent controls with lower attack than this card, destroy it. So anything lower than 3K, you're just popping at the end of the battle phase for free. It's a nice little bonus effect, but to be honest, the searching is better from the other one. So yeah, it's not bad though. Monster effect, you can reveal this card in hand, special summon it face down defense, and then you're locked into only summoning face down. When your opponent activates a card or effect in response to the activation of your card or effect, I love that this isn't just an Enneacraft effect. This is anything. So if I activate Ash and they called by it, this card can still trigger in that instance. You can flip this face down card face up, then return up to 3 cards on the field to the hand, which is crazy. It's a really good utility there as a pendulum deck where, like I kind of just stated, once you're searching off of some of these pendulum monsters, they are just kind of sitting. They're kind of just sitting on the field. This does give you a way to just like, oh, my opponent only really has 1 or 2 things I really want to bounce. I'm going to get one of my scales back, and then, they're going to be able to keep playing. I'm going to be able to keep playing from there. And then each time a card or cards is added to your opponent's hand by their card effect while you control this monster that is flipped face up, burn your opponent 900 for each. That's not bad either, right? You can definitely get some big build-up damage there. I mean, 900 damage is no joke. That is already in the territory of, 9 triggers, and they lose just on this card alone. I think there's some other burn stuff as well. Next up, we move to Enneacraft Astay PIXIEA. Level 9 light machine as well. 3K, 25 for the stats. The blue eye stats, scale 0 again. The counter effect. And then at the end of the battle phase, if you have an Enneacraft card in your other pendulum zone, you target one monster with lower attack in this card. Destroy it. Same exact effect there, but just getting free pops on the end of battle phases is nice. You can reveal this card, special face down, but lock yourself into face down, summoning face down for the rest of the turn. When your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a card or cards you control, change this set card face up, negate that effect. Then you can banish 1 card from your opponent's hand face down at random. That's pretty cool as well. I mean, listen, these are once your opponent knows that these are set, because these you can't even like set. They're too high level. You have to like activate them to set. But like you are just being like, if you're gonna target me with anything, I'm gonna punish you for it. If you are going to, what's the other one? The other one up here is, if you're going to chain anything to any card or effect I activate, I'm going to punish you for it. And you really can start limiting how they're able to play, which still matters. And then, yeah, of course, like that's a more permanent, just we're ripping a card permanently for the duel, which is cool. Third effect, your opponent cannot target cards on the field or in the graveyards with card effects while you control this monster flip face up. That's another solid floodgate effect because we have seen cards like Metal Silver Armor that just says like your opponent can't even target their own stuff, because that's the key on this wording is this isn't just they can't target my stuff. This is they cannot target any cards on the field or graveyard. That really, really, really hinders specific strategies. A lot it can. So yeah, very, very cool. I like it. And the last monster here, oh no, sorry, we have 2 more. This is Enneacraft Atori F Mar, another level 9 light machine. Blue eye stats, 0 scale, same first and second effects as the new big ones have kind of been rocking with. You can reveal this card in hand, special summon it face down. That's the same effect as well. When your opponent activates a card or effect on the field during your turn, you can change this set card face up, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. This is really cool. This just helps us play. Going first, this is not even like the craziest effect. This is almost better playing into a board, just because like there's going to be stuff like Imperm and the Dominus hand traps, but for the most part, when you're going first on your turn, your opponent's not hitting you with anything like out of this world, right? They're not hitting you with stuff on the field, at least. Like most of the other hand traps outside of the trap hand traps don't matter. And this is only on your turn, which is kind of the bummer. If this was either player's turn, I would have liked this a lot more. But it is what it is. It it can still protect you in certain instances, but it's not the best one for sure. It's kind of weird that this is the one they used for the cover of the archetype. And then if this card is flip face up, you can change all monsters your opponent controls to face down defense position. That's kind of another cool thing, but that's kind of what makes this card cool for playing going second. It reads like a 1-of to me, right? Where you're going second into a board. If we can set this, and then as we continue to try and play throughout the rest of the turn, if our opponent ever has to activate something on field, we're able to flip this, try and book the whole board. We're negating the thing they activate on their field in the first place. Like, this card actually is pretty scary into a board for sure, as long as it's not a link deck. It's good. All right, and the final, I think this is the final monster. Yeah, final monster is Enneacraft Archan Tail. It's like a cool scorpion guy. Another level 9 light machine, 3K, 25, the blue eyes. Stats, the pendulum effects are the same as all the other big ones. The first effect is the same special summon effect as all of them have. But this, when your opponent activates a card or effect that would destroy a card or cards on field, flip this card face up, and then monsters and Enneacraft spells you control cannot be destroyed by card effects for the rest of this turn. So the whole idea is they're activating something, presumably to destroy something we control. This then chains to that, flips face up, and nothing gets destroyed, ideally. At least Enneacraft stuff. This is probably the worst one, honestly, of all the monsters, just because of this trigger is the most specific by far. It could still be a 1-of in certain instances, but like because the whole deck is so reliant on your opponent triggering stuff, so many of these monsters are like so hit or miss depending on the matchup. Each time a monster is sent to your opponent's graveyard while you control this monster, flip face up, inflict 900 damage to them. That's the other awkward part, is I actually like this burn effect, obviously, so much more than the other one. But the issue with it is that our opponent has to try to pop something for this to be a flipped face up monster, and then like just even turn this on. And is that already halfway through the turn? How many, like, so are they not even in danger range with this burn effect? This to me is the worst monster, I think, of the lineup. Next up, let's finish up with our last two cards here. This is Enneapolis, the Syncquisition City. Very cool artwork, very like utopian, like almost society looking city here. Field spell. This card is always treated as an Enneacraft card, so it's searchable with all the small scales, or the small guys. You can only use the first and second effect once per turn each. You can target any number of Enneacraft Pendulum monsters you control, return them to the hand. Love it. That's cool. Just like I said, they feel kind of useless once they search in scale, so just being able to get them back then and then special them, that's really cool to just kind of set up a whole field of these flippers. I love it. If an Enneacraft Pendulum monster you control is flipped face up during the main phase, you can return to the hand or place in your Pendulum zone one of them. Cool. So I like that as well. Once they flip, most of the small ones are not really doing much on the field after they've flipped and resolved their effects. So I'd rather have them safe and that free resource for follow-up instead of, them just being sitting ducks on the field for your opponent to clear out of the way next turn. Once per turn during the end phase, remove all Syncquisition counters from cards you control, and if you do, inflict 500 or 900 damage to your opponent for each. That is a little more interesting because if you can't, like we said, that's, I think 9 is the sweet spot there. So if you are flipping multiple times, you also got to the guy above that burns for 900 every time your opponent adds a card to hand. Combined with this on an end phase, you might just kill your opponent with burn. Not out of the realm of possibility, but not sure if it's totally worth building a whole strategy around it. All in all, this card doesn't really have any consistency things for it, but it is searchable off of basically every scale, even though they're random. So I don't want to play this card at 3, but you also, to be able to guaranteed search it, need it at 3. So it's a weird one, but I don't know. And the last card here, we have Enneacraft Release, a normal spell here. You can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. Place one Enneacraft Pendulum from your deck into your Pendulum zone. Cool, because they search everything else. So this is, getting you a scale and a searcher, which is cool. If this card is in your graveyard except the turn it was sent there, you can banish it to add a face-up Enneacraft monster from your extra deck to your hand. Cool. Just a little bit of recovery there. This is fine. This is just a good consistency card, especially because it's in the form of non-searching. So it is not playing into Droll. It is not ashable. That's pretty nice. All in all, it's a weird one. It's by far the weirdest archetype of the 3. I think so far it definitely reads as the lowest potential of the 3. But there might still be something here. We still have one card missing. What slot is that? That's actually pretty important here. So we have 16, we have 17, we have 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Okay, so we literally don't know what the card is either on the front or the end. My guess would be it's either another spell or a trap, We have no extra deck monsters for the archetype as well, so that's something else to keep in mind. I would doubt that I doubt that there would be another one in front of the small ones because we already got what 4 different small ones. So I don't really think we would even need another one. But Speller Trap, if there's something like really, really strong in a Speller Trap slot, again, being searchable off of all of the small ones, consistency is not an issue here whatsoever. I'm curious to see, you know, where the move is there. What are we doing? But still, it's a cool archetype. It's slow. It definitely feels a little bit slow, but it has some cool perks and quirks to it that allow like a deck that is flip based, and those types of strategies have struggled in the last couple of years for sure. To do some cool things. I'm curious where they go. Keep in mind as well, all deck build pack archetypes are going to get one more card. This one should get one more card, no exception. And then they should also get support in like the next 2 or 3 core sets as well, right? So like just don't rule out the possibility that just next core set we also see 2 new cards. One of them's crazy, and then like the whole way you think about this archetype like immediately gets flipped on its head again. Who knows? It's definitely the third of all 3 in my opinion out the gate, but of course most archetypes nowadays like still have potential even if they're not like crazy out the gate. But yeah, that's kind of where I land. Let me know your thoughts down below on this new archetype. It is really weird. There's some weird stuff. It's hard to kind of grasp everything all at once. Just reading 10 different cards, all you know what I mean, at the same time, and trying to piece it all together. So if there's anything obvious that you think I missed, or even just some cool niche stuff that gives this deck some like bonus, you know, oomph to it, let me know your thoughts down below there. And I'll see you guys next video. Thank you so much for watching as always, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.